Okay, sorry about that. Hey guys, this is me Prot, and this is the first episode of my new project. Not new, but new stream project, where I will be developing a Half-Life 2 source engine map renderer. I won't be doing like the whole thing. I won't be doing like the highest level rendering there. The basic plan here is to just merge the entire Half-Life 2 maps together in the one giant mesh that you can fly by with the tool that, well, I'm developing. And also I will probably try to feed it with Portal and Portal 2 levels just to see what the what would their like merged mesh look like, because that's like I find it interesting, so I will be doing that. And I haven't streamed for like a month, so things probably will be a little bit weird because yeah, I forgot how to set up things. I forgot how to like talk to people to the camera or something. And yeah, and another thing, привет, Юрий Мартынов, привет, Гринсю, привет, ГКРК. Yeah, as usual, my main language will be English, but I can also speak Russian, and I will like switch languages sometimes if there are any questions or like phrases in the Russian or something, so I will be doing that. Можно говорить по-русски, можно задавать мне вопросы по-русски, я буду отвечать по-русски, как обычно. So this project is not Demoscene related in any way. I have some, I think for like probably a month or something, I won't be doing any Demoscene stuff, at least like on streaming. And my next Demoscene project is really, I'd say it would be probably ambitious one. And so yeah, this is basically a thing just for me to catch up with what I was doing, and yeah. There's a question. Как дела? Чем занимался в последнее время? Дел, как всегда, больше, чем времени. Чем занимался? Да чем попало. На самом деле просто куча всего накопилось, и не было ни времени, ни сил, ни на стриминг, ни на что. Вот. Я надеюсь, что в ближайшее время это все будет потихонечку исправляться. Yeah, I was busy this month with some random stuff and didn't have any time to do any streaming or like personal projects whatsoever. Следующая демка ни на какой конкретный ивент не планируется. То есть вроде как в начале следующего года будет Tokyo Demo Fest. Я также думаю, где-то в январь-февраль. И Revision в апреле, из того, что я помню. Ну, там, наверное, еще куча всего есть. Вот я куда-то туда целюсь, но вот сейчас я буду работать не над демосценой. То есть сейчас это абсолютно другая штука. Вот, просто так. Демосцена там будет отдельный, короче, проект. Мне к нему нужно подготовиться перед тем, как начать его и делать, и тем более стримить. Let's begin, I think. So basically this is a project that I first started doing like it's 5 years ago or something. Yeah, it's about 5 years ago, where I suddenly found out that I actually can program stuff, and I decided to implement so basically when I was a kid and I saw the first Half-Life for the first time, it was apparent to me that some levels would actually clash if they are like stacked together. Like, you know, the thing where you basically go from one level to another, and then loading screen happens, and basically you start where you left off. So levels should like connect to each other. And for some places it was apparent that the corridor would like make levels overlap, and it wouldn't make any sense. So since then I wanted to try to look at what would it look like to actually merge those levels. And yeah, 5 years ago I found out that I actually could do that, and I sat and wrote this utility where you can like fly by the geometry, where it like loads all the Half-Life 1 levels, merges them according to the entity data. So there's like some markers which allow to connect levels automatically, and this utility did that. And yeah, so I did that, but basically I didn't know how to program back then, and I still don't know how to program right now, but then it was like even worse. And I'm not happy with the code that I did write back then. And also maybe you've seen, but if you're Russian speaking, you've seen my a video of Dmitry Bachilo where I made a Half-Life 2 level renderer for the Raspberry Pi. Well, it was like the basic renderer of like DirectX 9 or 8, something like that level. So it wasn't yeah, it was really a basic graphics level renderer for the Half-Life 2. It's possible to make it more complicated, but there's not enough data on that. I really need to like to do a better renderer. I would need to reverse engineer a lot of stuff that is not documented anywhere, and I just avoided doing that. And I probably will continue doing that. There's a question in the chat. С ребятами ничего не говорил, они типа не делают демки вообще. Почему-то лид-прогер по графике тебя не знает. Ну, это нормально. То есть я не тусуюсь в среде графических программистов, ну и, наверное, программистов вообще. Я не графический программист. Это мое хобби, и у меня не профессиональный уровень на это. Интересные исходники для проекта Half-Life 2 и литературу. Я вот сегодня, к сожалению, не буду это показывать, потому что у меня это не подготовлено здесь для стримов, но какая-то информация есть, она вся публичная, есть публикации самих Valve, есть куски исходников сорца официальные, которые они выложили, то есть у них прям там на гитхабе где-то лежат. Есть всякие материалы, где другие ребята реверс-инженерили, ковыряли и документировали части, но далеко не все. So basically there are, as a reference material, there are a lot of info available on the source renderer. Basically there are official sources available for some parts. There are publications like on graphics architecture of the source engine. I won't be showing this right now because I haven't these materials at hand currently. This is like a really hastily prepared stream, so yeah, there's nothing much here. And yeah, there's some stuff that was reverse engineered by people on the internet and documented some way and another. There are some sources of people trying to do something similar to what I do, like some loading levels and some rendering stuff. Почему я решил к этому проекту вернуться? На какую платформу будут программы? Я решил в общем, я переделал же рендерер вот с 5-летней давности вот этой весной на C, на то, что чем я больше доволен. Я хочу закончить, чтобы это была штука, чтобы, короче, весь этот проект был закончен. То есть я могу сказать, вот, пожалуйста, вот это эти исходники, их можно там качать, собрать, можно натравить это на такую игру, вот оно смержит уровни, можно полетать и посмотреть. Привет, Ателла Фан. Прости, если неправильно произношу. So the idea of this current project is to basically, I have rewritten the 5 years ago sources to it was a C++ sources. I rewritten that into plain C. This spring for another project for the Raspberry Pi renderer, and I would love to complete this project in a sense that basically this for this C implementation to do the rendering and merging and possibly some stuff that could be useful like to speedrunners or something. And so yeah, another interesting thing is that the first the Half-Life 1 level merger was used to find at least one trick for the speedrunners. Basically, they found a level intersection that made it possible to split an entire chapter. I could probably show you this, because this is really I found it interesting. I didn't know that they did that only after the speedrun was released. Maybe I'm not sure where. Okay, let's see. Yeah. Yeah, somewhere here. Yeah, they will drop down here, and yeah, look at this. So 8, 9, 10, and back. Yeah, and they appear here. This is basically a level or overlap. Let's make it this way. So what happens here? Интернет не просядет от ютубчика, у меня 300 мегабит. What happens here is they grab an object, go to the level trigger is somewhere here, and then they go back because the trigger doesn't happen because they're I believe this is due to the fact that they are grabbing this object, so the trigger actually doesn't happen until they release an object. But then when they release an object, they spawn relative to the trigger point, and the next level has actually another geometry at this place here, and they basically avoid the entire chapter by doing that. Yeah. So I believe this trick was found using my tool, but I'm not sure. But for what I know, for what I heard, this is the case. Anyway, so it's possible to do like some useful stuff here. There's a lot of questions here. I've seen... Ребята переделали Half-Life на C-Sharp. Это я не видел. Я видел другой проект, где ребята переделывают на open-source рендер. Делают open-source версию движка Gold SRC Half-Life 1. По-моему, это был Xash 3D. I'm not sure whether what would be the official site of this project, but yeah, this is a open source implementation that is Gold SRC compatible. this. Yeah, this is it, but like this is a fork, and is this a fork? Yeah, this is a fork. So yeah, there's that. I'm not doing anything like that. This is not what I want to do. Многопоточность буду ли подрубать? Наверное, посмотрим. Сегодня планы по программированию. Сильно никаких, пройтись по коду, там, поделать мелкие какие-то штуки, может быть. Я думаю, что я через полчаса закончу стримить, кстати. Ресурсы от Half-Life 1 совместимы с Half-Life 2. Ты говорил, что там материалы есть, которые не получается открыть. Здесь какое дело? То есть Gold SRC движок, есть Source движок. Это разные движки, у них разные немножко форматы файлов, форматы карт, файлов и так далее. Есть вот, короче, тут в Steam такая штука Half-Life Source. Это ремейк Half-Life 1 на вот движке Source. Соответственно, у него все форматы данных совместимы с сорцом. Более того, они даже лежат в одном месте. То есть вот там Steam, Common, Half-Life 2 и там Hell 1, Hell 2, ну то есть оно все. То, что я говорил, что не получается открыть, это дополнительные материалы в BSP файлах. Их не то, что не получается открыть, там нужно код писать, который это все открывает. Мне просто руки не дошли его написать. Может быть, я до туда доберусь. So basically, what my tool does is accepts a source resource files of the source engine, not the Gold SRC engine of Half-Life 1. It is a source engine of the Half-Life 2. And there are some... so basically there's a remake of Half-Life re-release of Half-Life 1 based on a source engine that does... that includes all the resource files in the format that I can parse. And there are some sections of BSP files that I don't currently open, like there's some textures missing that I believe are in the embedded with the BSP file. Probably I will get into implementing that at some point, but I'm not sure. Sometimes watching and have one question. Can you give some advice so we can learn math and OpenGL? So the usual question of where do... yeah, there's this site Learn OpenGL, which is really good. At least... I haven't read it like from the beginning, so I'm not sure whether like... yeah, I probably don't have a really strong opinion about some parts of it, but the parts that I have read, they are great. So basically, probably you should start... this is a good start, basically. Yeah, I don't think that I have any good sources on the... Не думаю, что есть, короче, хорошая информация на русском, и, по крайней мере, я не знаю. Я смотрел несколько книг на русском, несколько сайтов на русском, и они все странные. Вот. So, I've been doing, like, this introduction for almost 20 minutes. Anyway, so let me show you the current state of this tool. Okay, so it can load and render a map, just like one map. It doesn't do many maps and does only one. It can load textures and light maps. It doesn't do any entities, and there are some missing textures, as you can see, but the light maps are there. There are some like glitches, like this color is weird, and I'm not sure why it's that. This stuff is like not right at all. And like this stuff is, so I am certainly making some mistakes in DXT textures loading. There's one thing to fix. And yeah, there are some light map glitches that I'm not sure why they exist at all. Я только загружаю лайтмапы, я ничего сам не считаю здесь. Math, geometry, algebra. I don't have any links at the moment on this 3D math stuff. I've read some books, like the basic basic math that you need in order to start doing these, like it's only a few pages of some linear algebra, like vectors, matrices, stuff like that, maybe quaternions. But I don't know the good source that gives you this info like in condensed form. I read several books, like they do have this section on a few pages and some sites, and yeah, some experience. I don't think that I understand this strongly, because like I always get confused by like row major, column major, what do rows and columns of the matrix represent, and usually when I'm trying to like make stuff work, I just like transpose matrices around and see and like to get it like to draw stuff, and yeah. Обнаружение коллизий, collision detection. There was like a few years ago I saw a really decent talk about that, like 2D and 3D collision detection, and like the basic idea was really simple, but I can't remember anything about it right now, sorry. So yeah, and this stuff can load any other levels. It does do some simple profiling here. Basically, the last time I worked on this code was like half a year ago, and I don't remember a lot of things. So yeah, this is what it looks like. And one other thing that does work is I spent quite some time on making it work. It's displacements, so this stuff here. And the colors are really weird here. Anyway, so this stuff here, another thing that this tool requires to run is you can see that I pass quite a few directories with resources to it. So basically this is a list of directories that it should look resources in. And then there's a map name, and those are mounted resources from VPK files, and this is script that I use to mount these. So this is the VPK files that I use, which are which lie here. Those really large ones, and as you can see, I don't have any code to parse them. I use external utility. VPK views, I think I will probably show you here, this one, which basically Linux specific, not Linux, like it works on any operating system that has views, and it mounts VPK files as a file system, and I'm using it for accessing VPK resources. And at some point I do want to make this utility to work with the VPK files directly. I thought about doing retracing for the Half-Life levels, but it is a completely separate project, and I'm not ready to go into that. Like, this is a lot of work. But yeah, it probably would be interesting. Okay. There's some stuff that I would love to do about rendering and retracing and stuff like that, which is like project probably middle of the next year. And after that, probably I could feed the Half-Life levels into it, but yeah, this is way beyond my planning abilities. Anyway, so let's go to the code. So basically this thing is a lot of C files. There's OpenSource C, which is this project uses my small library for OpenGL and Windows stuff that gives me a simple entry point. That's a large file. Yeah, I will be going through these resources to the source files to basically familiarize myself with the code again, because half a year ago it's like I don't remember a lot of stuff going on here. Новое железо покупать не надумал. Я хотел купить Threadripper, но Threadripper, в общем, там, ну, сначала Ryzen, потом Threadripper, у них проблемы с тем, что мне важно, и я пока жду, пока они их решат. So basically, I wanted, the question was about doing an upgrade and buying new hardware. Currently I use a really old, like 4 years old machine, like AMD FX 8350 something CPU, and okay, I do have a fresh GPU, but anyway, I wanted to upgrade to the Threadripper or Ryzen something, but they do have issues with virtualization and stability under high load and stuff like that. And I'm waiting for AMD to get their shit together and release something stable, and then probably I will be buying a Threadripper like top one with 32 cores or something. Because yeah, I do love to run virtual machines and compile stuff. Это не единственная проблема с компиляцией. Там целый тред был, там куча проблем. Я не могу сказать, какие конкретно проблемы там были, так, чтобы не наврать. Там были проблемы с виртуализацией, связанные с... Как же это... Короче, в определенных условиях это все тормозит и плохо. И, в общем, я просто себе поставил заметку, что там, не знаю, в октябре-ноябре посмотреть текущее состояние, почитать по форумам и там исправилось, не исправилось. Там есть какие-то нюансы. Я смотрел буквально пару недель назад. Вот. Anyway, so this is the entry point, application entry point. There's some stuff. Okay, file system collection is a, let's call it a class that manages resource collections, where you can ask it for named resources. And so this is a argument parsing where I can, well, I populate the collections with the arguments here. SXS exotic and gram SXS привет. So parse arguments, collect the collections, create file system collections with the given path, and yeah, load map. And what next? Манви, привет. Чего не по-русски? Я отвечаю на вопросы по-русски, веду стрим на английском. В общем, происходит, что попало, полная фигня. Надежда на то, что англоязычных зрителей может быть потенциально больше, и иногда это подтверждается. То есть иногда приходят люди на английском, начинают что-то спрашивать. Вот. Да, и это у меня пока не демо-сценерский проект, это вот я месяц что-то ничего не стримил, и хочу немножко как бы восстановиться, а то я вообще ничего не помню, и да. Я думаю, через месяцок где-то я возьмусь за следующую безумную сценерскую штуку. So basically this was a loading stuff and connecting collections to each other for some reason. Yeah, they basically ask each other in sequence for the resources. And this does the initialization and set up the callbacks for the auto call, like window resize, window pane, keyboard, mouse moves, stuff like that. And this is tail where we close the application, and yeah. So initialization function of the open source stuff is first we do initialize ResourceCache. So yeah, I probably should familiarize you and like remember myself with some basic ideas behind this stuff. Okay, this is not it. And this is some basic stuff. Collection cache. Я знаю про Quite, но я с ними лично не знаком. Они крутые, я нет. Там все очень просто. So, I do have my custom a really basic, really trivial stack-based allocator here. So basically I don't do malloc stuff, I believe. So this stuff doesn't allocate memory from libc, and this was fun stuff that I tried to do like for fun. Спасибо, но я, в общем, они там что-то выигрывают, у них хорошо, у меня нужно расти, очень много нужно расти. So basically I pre-allocate the huge like several tens of megabytes of memory and do my custom allocations on top of it. I believe there was like 2 regions of memory, which one for the short and temporary allocations and one for permanent ones. So basically the lifetime of this application is to load all levels, and then nothing happens, only flyby stuff, and so it just needs to populate some memory at the start, and then it doesn't deallocate that at all. The only usage of memory that can be potentially deallocated is some temporary stuff, and it has really defined scope of this temporary stuff that I can basically give it some memory and then take it away without actually like freeing stuff. So yeah, there's stack persistent. Okay. Yeah, stack persistent is the persistent memory. Yeah, so there are 32 megabytes of persistent data and 32 megabytes for the temporary data, and that's all this application needs. I could probably do something I think it is possible to optimize it further, but I didn't bother. Greaser1, спасибо за follow. So yeah, where was I? There's a lot of code and it's just one file. What is this crap? What is this? What I was doing here? There's some custom profiler here. Okay. And this one, this some debug stuff which uses OpenGL, and I think I can delete it, like it's unused completely, and this I don't need also. This stuff is obsolete, this stuff is also obsolete. Okay, so initialization func is really hold on. So cache initialization, render initialization, which can fail for some reason. Yeah, it compiles shaders, so that can fail. And then we load the word spawn lump from the word spawn like mesh from the BSP file, and there's this context which can consist of collection, memory for permanent storage, temporary memory, which will need it for atlas, textual atlas, and some other stuff, as far as I remember. And this one, G world spawn. Yeah, so this is the output. Okay, so this will try to load, and map is the map name as a string, which this guy will try to find it in collection. Учера, привет. I use okay, so let me show you what I use. There's like this stuff and this stuff, and yeah, I don't use any I'm not using any how do like checked aggregator or something. I couldn't find any solution that I was happy with, so this is the stuff that I have to like cope with. So this is basically because you have to you can see two chats here. It's basically the same thing that I see in my second screen. Polygon 326, спасибо за follow. В описании Твича текущий проект я апдейтил, он что, не нету? Update information я жмакал. Странно. Текущий проект в смысле на моей страничке. Я понял, да, это я забыл. Это надо будет жмакнуть, спасибо. Anyway, so init cache, init render, load map geometry, and center. Okay, this basically to determine the map size and map center. And this crap I don't need. This is a long crap. Okay. And then I set up camera to like look at the center and be at some position from the center, which is a hack. I really should use entities from the BSP file itself, like where player starts or some stuff like that. So this is I also don't need this. Okay, I don't need this too, and this I also don't need. These are remnants from the time where when I prototyped this stuff and used OpenGL for the rendering. I'm not using it anymore. I have custom render. So there's this render ash with like basically all the stuff that I use is here. Like I only use RGB 16-bit RGB textures, and yeah, so there are some buffers, vertex buffer and index buffers. I do some stuff like model optimize here, which is interesting. I only vaguely remember what I'm doing here. Okay, this is some profiler stuff. And error caching. Okay. So this is basic OpenGL, like create and compile program and check for errors. This is not really interesting. And texture create is also really basic. What it does is generate mip maps for some reason. like it was easier to add this one line here instead of like trying to load all the map levels from the resource files and pass them here, like, and yeah, some built-in shaders. Like this is really generic shader for light map and texture. Really basic stuff, nothing interesting. And then some attributes data. Okay, I can close this. Locate attributes. Okay, so I was preparing here for having different materials. So there are a lot of materials in Source Engine that do have quite different shaders and resources available to them. I was even trying to be ready for multi-textures, but I never got to implementing that actually. So this stuff just supports for basic support for doing some more clever stuff, which we'll probably be doing at some point. Play trips, rendering it. So yeah, rendering it is basically compile the only shader program there is, then locates attributes and uniforms from it. Creates a default placeholder texture for a case when I can't load the needed texture. I do think that I will need to come up with some like checkerboard pattern or something for these textures to be apparent where I don't have a valid texture. So yeah, it puts a texture here, it puts a material, default material, placeholder material, and yeah, there's a material structure here. Okay, I will need to go to that to figure out what's going on. Model optimize, it's just a Quicksort. Okay. Yeah, I remember that. Actually, so basically when the BSP model finishes loading, I have this huge list of BSP like faces in BSP terms. Each face is set of triangles that can be rendered, and they are unsorted. They do switch materials a lot, they do switch textures a lot and stuff like that. This Quicksort basically sorts them by their base texture, and then when I tell this model to draw, what it does, it goes through where, yeah, it's set up the okay, let's go here. Yeah, basically what it does, it goes through all the BSP faces draw calls and tries to concatenate them into as few draw calls as possible, and this makes all the difference for this stuff to be able to be rendered on Raspberry Pi. So basically this little program here renders the entire Half-Life 2 level on like minimal graphics settings on the Raspberry Pi, but it does draw the entire level. It doesn't do any BSP face removal, like it doesn't consult the PVS, stuff like that. It just renders the entire level, the entire geometry of the level. And this is what allows it to do that, because if I don't do this rendering optimization here, if I don't call as many draw calls into as few into as few draw calls as possible. Basically, it will, like, there are some thousands of draw calls and things get like below 1 frame per second. But if draw call is doing draw calls is expensive regardless of how complex draw calls are themselves. So yeah, this is important stuff. And yeah, if I want to do the level merger and if I want to draw the entire geometry of the game, I must certainly do as simple rendering as possible. So as you can see, it source only draw calls only by the first texture, and if I do more complex materials, I will lose ability to join some draw calls, and it will make things more complicated and less performant. So yeah, this is the entire render, but it does work with the prepared stuff. This I won't need. And the most complex thing here is BSPC. This file is a nightmare. Okay, this 700 lines of unreadable C crap. So what it does here is, okay, so let's start with the API internal, like this module API. It operates with material, axis align bounding box. I'm not sure what I use it for here. It's plain. I think these are actually unused currently. Then there's BSP model vertex, which has position, normal, light map, texture coordinates, and texture coordinates. And BSP draw, which basically selects material and specifies starting point and ending point. And yeah, now what this thing does, yeah, this is OpenGL. The render is OpenGL. Really basic stuff, like only 400 lines. But this is really really simple render. It's like minimal graphics, and yeah. What it does here, another optimization that I do, it basically puts the entire level geometry into as few OpenGL buffers as possible. So if there are less than 65,000 vertices, basically the entire level will fit into a single buffer, like single vertex buffer and single index buffer. The 65,000 limit is for the 16-bit indices that basically Raspberry Pi has only 16-bit indices. It doesn't have 32-bit indices, and yeah, this makes things a little bit more involved. So model specifies is bound in a box, and the entire model fits into a single light map texture. Light map texture is a atlas of all the light map chunks for all faces. BSP does some thing like the faces of a BSP have really small light map patches, like 2 by 2 pixels or something like that. So it's completely unfeasible to have them in in separate textures. So I do put all of the light map patches for the entire level into a single light map atlas. I will go into that later. And yeah, so model has two buffers. Light map, buffers, draws count, and draws. So this is model. Okay, that is interesting. So basically it still does the entire, there are two buffers. I thought it did have this yeah, it does put everything into into two buffers. Like there's single vertex buffer and single index buffer. What it does if indices go beyond the 65,000. Okay. What it does, it split, draws to allocate, can draw vertices. Oh yeah, this code is not really easy to read. Basically, I believe what it does, it just creates a new draw. And it shifts all its vertices by this value here. And this allows me to still have just two buffers, but split the draw calls at some point. Because I can shift all the vertices beyond like 65,000 later in actual OpenGL call. And below model context is collection, where to get stuff, persistent memory, temporary memory, and where to put output result. And it can return quite a few errors, like it couldn't open the map, the map had wrong format. It couldn't allocate persistent memory, it couldn't allocate temporal memory, and capabilities, I'm not sure what is that capabilities. Okay, this is for the case where it couldn't put all the light maps into one atlas. This hasn't happened for me for any Half-Life 2 level. They always fit. Yeah. Okay, honestly, I think that I will be I won't be doing any much coding today, and I think I will probably wrap up this stream now, because yeah, I'm not really prepared and I'm starting to get tired, and I still have some stuff to do today. So let's go through this function just for completeness, because the entire file will probably take quite a long time. So what it does, it opens следующий стрим в следующий четверг. План такой, что делать один стрим в неделю, 2 или 3 стрима я не потяну пока. У меня есть еще нагрузка, поэтому по четвергам. Не, эту штуку я буду делать только на стримах. У меня нет времени делать не на стримах. По четвергам также вот как я начал, там типа в 10 по Новосибирску, это что? Сколько там с Москвой сейчас разница? 4 часа? В 6 по Москве получается. Вот. Ну и там типа на час, полтора-два, что-нибудь такое. Так, это мы открываем файл. So this is where we open ask collection to open the resource by the name and resource type map. And this is where we this is a handle for it to be opened. And then we remember the temporary memory position. So basically, this is the position up until which we will free stuff. And then it reads the BSP header from the file and tries to like sanity check that the file has the right size, that the file has the right magic, and that it has the right version that we do support here, because other versions have different field sizes and stuff like that, and it would be make parsers really complex. And then the BSP file consists of lumps. A lump is a region of data like offset and size and type. And I populate lump metadata, lump internal metadata with stuff from the file for easy access. Some lumps are really easy. It's like an array of structures with known layout. List lumps. Yeah, this is some micro magic that I do love to do. I use this stuff a lot. And then basically it loads model, and at exit it frees all the temporary memory it allocated, closes the file, and returns the result. And this stuff here is this function which does preloading. It fills an entire internal context for the loading stuff, because there's a lot of variables that get variables and values and stuff like that gets reused. Not reused, it's used by a lot of stuff in this loader. And so I just pass this structure around just to not have this long list of arguments here. This is like completely ridiculous. This preload faces does some preloading. Basically, one of the things it does, it allocates enough, tries to calculate how much memory we would need for the entire thing, just for it to have to be contiguous in memory. And then it does, and it does a bunch of other things which will be done, which will be used later. And then we load light maps. It loads the texture and stuff like that, and load geometry itself, and then just fill the return value. So that's 3 stages here. Бачила на моих стримах, не знаю, мы как-то вот, не знаю. Нет, наверное. Мы что-то давно ничего вместе не делали. Я вот все хочу, да некогда, и как-то вот, да. So preloading goes through. Okay, so preloading does preload face metadata. What does okay, we do some face preloading, and if this face is okay, we consider it that it will it's a visible face, and we will load its geometry, and then we allocate some temporary memory for it for some reason. Basically, this allocation is really simple. Like, hello, Anas Razik. Basically, this allocation is just pointer plus value and not some malloc stuff that could like call brk or something like that. And if the yeah, we will need to return error here if face preload failed for some reason. Visible faces found. If we check that there are any faces handle this, there is no way to handle this. And yeah, so all this does is face preload metadata. This is a huge function here. So given a face, can we... Okay, we can skip it if it doesn't have any text info, which means like this face is invisible. There are like some technical faces here there that we don't actually need to show. Как создать небольшую команду для моего проекта? TextInfo, try to we read TextInfo from TextInfo lamps. Then should skip face. We check for some flags. As you can see, I tried some things to determine whether the face is visible or not, and yeah, I ended up with this weird check that I don't remember why. Anyway, so this also checks whether the face should be visible, and then we try to read text data. I really should, like, I had this entire graph of dependencies within BSP format, like face depends on text info, depends on text data depends on like text data string table, text data string table depends on some on text data string data. And yeah, this is ridiculous. There's a lot of like interaction there that I should go through and check, like, for sanity. So these pointers are valid, and I don't do any like buffer overflow or something. Коммерческий проект я не пробовал создать. У меня предпринимательская жилка не пульсирует. And so yeah, and when I read all this indirect stuff, I end up with material name, and I try to read it from collection here, material get, which will also allocate stuff from persistent memory. And if I can't get this material for some reason, it will just skip. I don't think this happens at all. And then there's displacement info. So displacements. This is stuff that current C++ open source renderer doesn't do at all. Ну, пока никто что-то ничего не хочет делать и вообще менеджить команду. То есть у каждого человека, который умеет что-то хорошо делать, у него там своих подпроектов больше, чем жизни. Поэтому нужно прям, чтобы вот этот как-то сильно выделялось. Вот. А на коммерческой основе я пробовал нанимать людей, делать типа какие-то свои хотелки, но у меня не полетело. Ну, то есть это много труда, это много учиться этому делать. У меня просто типа не было на это ресурсов. Когда-нибудь я хочу к этому вернуться, но не сейчас. So displacement. So I traverse all the displacements. Yeah, read dispinfo power, num edges, and yeah, basically I determine how many vertices and indices I will have for displacements for this but displacement basically is a subdivision. So if there's a face, usually like displaced face is a rectangle. Displacements subdivise it's up to 4 power, I think, up to like this is 1, 2, 3, like 8 or 16. I don't remember how many. So basically, it subdivides the rectangle. So this is not just single rectangle. It consists of many small rectangles, and then there's this. Offset data that moves those new vertices around by the displaced vector, and this happens below disp start vtx. I don't remember why do I set it to 0. I vaguely remember that there's a field in dispinfo like this disp start vtx. This is weird. Maybe that's a reason why some stuff doesn't look as it should. Like displacements are a pain. They are not very well documented. Like they're not documented at all. And reverse engineering them, like there's a lot of public sources, like source engine sources that do something with those displacement, but I couldn't understand all of it in limited time that I spent, and yeah. So basically there are probably some mistake there. And they are like not really intuitive, I'd say. Because it can be seen from their design that they do some stuff that like I can almost see different iterations on displacement, that some ideas that didn't work out and were removed, but not completely. TMK07, thanks for the follow. So yeah, and check for basic reference consistency. So yeah, surfaces. So yeah, basically a face consists of surface edges, and surface edges are one directional edge, which in terms which depend on vertices. So another set of interaction. This is like BSP stuff. I did have this hand-drawn graph of dependencies, and it looks like a mess. Okay, light map size. Привет, Содинг. Sorry for being away for so long. I just didn't have time and energy for doing streams, and yeah, but I was busy with some random crap. Как по-русски, по-английски будем разговаривать? Очень крутой проект про веб-сервер на ассемблере. Прям очень классно. Жаль, я не всегда попадаю на стримы, чтобы посмотреть. So Zorin is the guy who streams web server in assembly, and it's really cool. I love to watch that when I can. Like, this is super cool. Okay, so then I traverse all the edges. Zorin, it's basically you can see there's some chat. I'm not sure which one it is. Yeah, this one. Zorin is basically the username. Okay. Okay, let me. It's okay, like switching to Russian and English, and yeah. Your channel is basically English only, and you don't have this problem. Yeah, this is the channel. This stuff is beautiful. Like, why do I do that? Yeah, I see. So I just ping pong the vertices. Okay. Anyway, there's a lot of indirections here, and it's not really important to understand all this stuff. So I do calculate the light map texture size that I need here, and remember the sample offset, and like check for the sample offset, and then do this interaction of the loading of the actual vertices. Yeah, and this start BTX is really like this stuff I don't understand. I'm not even. This is one of those weird places that I probably have like. This is not documented anywhere. Probably this is stuff from the logic from the sources that they do this for the displacements, and there's basically no reason to do that at all. Like, this is some crap for, like, I don't know, early displacement in the ratios or something, but if I don't do this, everything looks horrible. Под Windows такой проект переделать будет нетрудно. Один из этапов будет, я буду чинить его сборку под Windows. Может быть, кстати, он сейчас работает под Windows. Я просто не пробовал собирать. So this stuff should also be easy to port to Windows. I think it just requires compiling on Windows, so like creating Visual Studio project, and that's it. There shouldn't be any weird like operating system stuff. Well, except there is. Basically, I do file operations in Unix, Linux way. Yeah, file loading needs to be fixed. No, sorry about that. Okay, so yeah. Light map max width. Why do I store that? Why do I have like maximum width? I'm not sure. Okay, anyway. update counters, which will affect the size that we will need to allocate. And yeah, and this was basically a face preload, and yeah, this we looked at this stuff already. And then there's load light maps. So there's a separate module for building Atlas, and it consists of like, it also needs like permanent, no, it only needs temporary storage. It doesn't need anything permanent. It works within temporary memory that it was given. It starts with the smallest texture possible, which is 16 by 16, I believe, in most of the cases. I feed it with source rectangles, so there's one light map rectangle per face, so as many as faces. This is grep. So this is like this Atlas building stuff was made like as universal as possible, so it can read sizes and stuff like that from any alignment of memory. Like you can point it to the yeah, basically it does use that even. So I do have this face structure, which is it doesn't have rectangles spaced without any like the racks are interleaved with other face stuff, and I do have this to use this stride to determine the memory offset between consecutive rectangle structures. And same stuff goes for the position, which is output. Same stuff. And then yeah, this is the maximum width and height. Yeah, so I use maximum size to get first estimation of how large Atlas should be, and then the second estimation is like how many pixels should go there, and then I try to compute Atlas with, and if I fail, I just try to increase the smallest size I have. Like if width is smaller than height, I try with increasing width. Cross-платформа на этом проекте там не обязательно через define, там можно просто типа отдельный C-файл для винды, отдельный для никсов, там по этим имплементация работы с файловой системой. И здесь, поскольку здесь голый C, здесь нету STL никакого вообще. И тут C, по-моему, 99. Да, наверное, 99, а может 89. Я не помню, какого стандарта я придерживался. Наверное, C99, потому что локации все про переменных объявления здесь. Yeah, and if I can't build an Atlas and it reached the maximum size, then I just tell it that we're failed, and yeah. And then basically the Atlas itself doesn't even operate with texture memory at all. It just this Atlas compute function basically operates with you need to pack these rectangles of these sizes into rectangle of this size, and it tries some. There's a really simple but like efficient algorithm that tries to do that, and it just outputs the position of those rectangles in order. And actual like build-in texture happens here, where it allocates another bunch of temporary memory, and then just bleeds all the light map texture memory into that temporary memory, using the positions that Atlas has computed, and unpacks colors from the BSP light map data. This is fun. Not just if something, then something. Is just okay, Turner operator. Fun. And yeah, some colors. Probably I will need to revisit this stuff, because it's quite possible that I'm doing things here incorrectly. Okay, I will need to revisit that, but at this point I have the Atlas texture in memory, and then I upload it as a texture and free the temporary memory, and that's it. Really simple, straightforward stuff. And this is light map grab, or like displacements and light maps, and this will be called by another function here, load face. So there's a lot of debug code there also. Okay, load model draws. Okay, at this point it knows how much memory it needs. It's allocated temporary memory for vertex data, temporary memory for index data, and then starts to allocate draws. And yeah, draws will be in persistent memory, and there will be as many draws as there are faces. На шейдерах здесь не сделано практически ничего. Шейдеры просто отображают геометрию. Они очень простые. Я показывал шейдеры. Вот это вот все шейдеры. Все. Больше шейдеров тут нет. So then I go through all the faces, and if face has displacement, I need load it as a displacement face, and if it hasn't, it's just a regular face. And then what I do is basically this populates the vertices and indices buffer with the face geometry, and then I just need to output a draw call into, like, not draw call, like the draw operation, I'd say, into the draw operation array. Why would I comment this out? This is basically the core of this function. Okay. This is interesting. I will need to clean up this stuff. And yeah, it just after everything was done, it just creates buffers for the render model optimize. I do it here. Then another thing that it does, it shuffles indices around, because when I change the indices or draw operations order based on their materials, I also need to reshuffle indices within the index buffer to accommodate for this order change. And this block performs that, and basically this switches off the optimization. Yeah. And vertex buffer is always the same. So the left functions that are left is load displacements, and this is yeah, as you can see, I did a lot of debugging here to try to build something that looks right. And there's some crap regarding light map coordinates that I most certainly doing wrong, and it's sometimes it's visible, sometimes it's not visible, and I have no idea what I'm doing wrong here. Yeah, a lot of debug stuff. I couldn't find any comprehensible reference on what I should do here. But like the displacements themselves are easy. There's like this vector field where for each additional vertex there's like vector and displacement, and these yeah, this is the entire displacement stuff. Just add some stuff. Add some displacement along the vector. Привет, Джеффри. Ну, теоретически, я думаю, вполне себе. Я думаю, там можно, и да, если были исходники того же сорца полные, можно было бы попробовать даже скомпилять под Raspberry Pi. Там вроде как, ну, не то чтобы Rocket Science. Вот. С нуля, конечно, имплементировать это, ну, нет. Слишком много там человека десятилетий, если не сотен или тысячелетий туда закопано. Я в одну каску не потяну точно. Yeah, there's another debug stuff when the light map goes coordinates go outside of the bounds, and this does happen for several phases per map, and I have no idea what to do about that. Yeah, so light map calculation here, as you can see, it's complicated, and I'm sure that it's wrong, but it is as close as I could get. Normal. Yeah, I don't use normal at all. Because I don't have any dynamic lights. And indices are simple. And load phase is straightforward. Calculate light map coordinates, texture coordinates. It is known, documented, and simple. And surf edges. Why do I access surf edges? Yeah, in displacements case, a face always consists of 4 vertices, and in this case there are a lot of Anton Samotion. Yeah, this is basically not an evolution, is like the same sources that I used for that video, and I'm trying to fix up several things and finish this project, like leave it in the state that I will be happy with, which is I wanted to merge all the Half-Life 2 levels into a single giant mesh and try to look at that on Raspberry Pi. But today I'm just going through the sources and trying to remember myself what I was doing there. Со слитым сорцом работать неинтересно и опасно, то есть это юридическая проблема, поэтому я даже близко не хочу подходить. То есть даже если их там скачать, что как бы уже такое наказуемое наверняка деяние, то результат работы никуда не выложишь. То есть там вообще начинаются опасности. Как бы ну нафиг, нет. So this is straightforward. Just go through all edges and triangleize them, and that's it. Really simple. And yeah, and basically this is it. I don't think that there's anything going on here. The stuff that's left is resource management, loading resources, loading textures, materials, stuff like that. And I won't be doing it today because I'm too tired. Maybe next time. And yeah. I think I will be finishing up now, and so I do think that I have a schedule. I will be streaming each Thursday my evening, like 10 p.m. Novosibirsk time, which is like 6 p.m. Moscow time, and I believe 3 p.m. GMT or something. And yeah, same stuff in Russian. Расписание. Я думаю, я буду стримить по четвергам в 10 вечера по Новосибирску, в 6 вечера по Москве, вот на час, на два. И получается, что тогда увидимся в следующий четверг. Вот. So see you next Thursday, hopefully. And thank you for watching. And yeah, see you later.